Today, I'm going over my 2023 NFL Draft quarterback big board. Where do they stack up? Does Jaren Hall make the cut for the top 5? I'll get into all of this coming up. I cannot wait. Welcome to Y Central.
That when you take the field, every step is with purpose, every step is with passion, and you take the field knowing who you are. You are BYU. Last summer before the season started, I put out my big board, my top 5 quarterbacks coming into the season. This is what I had. I had CJ Stroud number 1, Bryce Young number 2, Jaren Hall number 3, Tanner McKee number 4, Tyler Van Dyke from Miami number 5. Now I want to compare that with my current big board postseason, just a couple months away from the NFL draft. Where does this stack up? Here is my current big board. At number 1, we have CJ Stroud. Number 2, Bryce Young. I have a tie for the 3rd spot. Will Levis from Kentucky and Jaren Hall from BYU. At 5th, I've got Anthony Richardson from Florida. And I put my 6 and 7 out here too. I won't talk about them in this video, but Tanner McKee, Stanford, Hendon Hooker, Tennessee. So let's get into it. Let's just start. So first off, CJ Stroud, 6'3", 215, 21 years old. Last year he threw 66% completion, 3,688 yards, 41 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions. Look, the past 2 years he's finished top 4 in Heisman voting. Big arm, baller. For me, he's always been my number 1. And I think that the Georgia game, the college football playoff, just solidified that. He was everywhere. He was so good. Young, big body. I just think he's the best prospect, honestly. Number 2, Bryce Young. 6 foot, 194 pounds, 64% completion, 3,328 yards, 32 touchdowns, 5 picks. Look, Heisman winner, extremely accurate, baller. He can just make plays out of nothing. The size is what drops him to number 2 behind Stroud for me. I think he'll have a great NFL career. Bryce Young is number 2. So there's a tie for the 3rd spot for me. I'll explain why there's a tie. If I have to give an edge, I'm giving it to Will Levis. But him and Jaren are tied, and I'll explain why. Will Levis, 6'3", 222, 23 years old, 65% completion, 2,406 yards, 19 touchdowns, 10 picks. Why is he number 3? His arm is crazy. He can sling the ball. I've seen comparisons to Zach Wilson. It's fair. He has arm power, arm talent, and when you have something like that, I have to respect it. He deserves being in that 3rd spot. He's worthy of potentially a 1st-round pick because of his arm. The red flags: touchdown to interception ratio, 19-10 last year. Didn't have that many yards. His production is not impressive, especially considering his arm talent. You hear comparisons to Zach Wilson. Well, Zach Wilson, junior year, threw for 3,033 touchdowns, 3 picks. So Zach's production was significantly better. The competition was significantly worse. That's fair. But Will Levis, with all the arm talent he has, some of the intangibles for me, the decision-making, the lack of production, the leadership, those are things that are a little bit more questionable for me. So he's way high for me with arm talent. Why is he tied for number 3 with Jaren? Well, let me go over what Jaren has. Jaren Hall, 6 foot, 211, 25 years old, 66% completion, 3,171 yards, 31 touchdowns, 6 picks. Look, Levis has the arm talent. Jaren has the intangibles. He has the leadership. He has the maturity. He has the decision making. That 31-6 TD to INT ratio is a lot better than 19-10. And let's not act like Jaren doesn't have arm talent. If you look at Jaren's tape, he has the best tape of any prospect in terms of deep ball, back shoulder, bucket throws. He has crazy accuracy when it comes to that. Not to mention he has wheels. So just from a quarterback on-field perspective, Jaren has got some serious talent. I'd give Will Levis the arm talent edge, but Jaren has the edge in every other aspect. So that's why I give him a tie for third. A slight edge if I have to pick one to Will just for the arm potential. And he's a couple years younger. But, let's talk about Jaren Hall's slide. Coming into the season, Jaren Hall, multiple outlets had him being not only a first-round pick, but a top 10 pick. This is including ESPN. And now people are saying, oh, day 3, late day 3. What happened? For me, there are 3 main things. One, his shoulder got injured during the season. Like, he played a couple games with an injured shoulder where they were not even really throwing the ball, where you could tell something was just different. And Jaren, being Jaren, made no excuses. He wouldn't lead you to believe it. But there was a clear moment in time when his arm just wasn't the same because of that injury. Number 2, the team success. BYU had that month of October where the team success just dipped. And it was really sad to see. Anytime your team isn't winning, the stock's going to fall. Number 3, as much as I hate to say this, and as much as it's not fair to Jaren, I think Zach Wilson's perception around the NFL right now has negatively affected Jaren Hall's stock. With all the narratives of, oh, Provo to New York, can he handle it? And with Zach kind of struggling, now the perception is, oh, well, BYU guys maybe can't handle it. And that's going to hurt Jaren. It's not fair to Jaren, but I think it's the fact. BYU quarterbacks right now aren't seen as highly because of Zach's perception in the league. I guarantee if Zach was putting up Trevor Lawrence numbers, Jaren would not be projected as a late day 3 pick. Jaren would be either first round pick or early day 2 pick. That's just the way it is. Number 5, I have Anthony Richardson. I won't get into his stats, but he has a crazy body. He has an insane arm. It's just in terms of quarterback play, it's not nearly as polished as the other guys. He's definitely worth taking and developing, but he's just not as good of a quarterback as these other guys right now. I won't get into Tanner McKee or Hendon Hooker in this video, but it's worth noting they're my 6 and 7 right now. Both are really good. I'm high on both, honestly. They just missed the cut for the top 5. So let's compare the stats now. CJ has some great stats. Will Levis, of the top 4, Will has the most questionable numbers this season. Jaren and Bryce, they're head-to-head. And I know Bryce played the harder schedule. Bryce was great. But Jaren played some hard teams: Notre Dame, Oregon, Arkansas, Baylor, Stanford. Not to mention he had an injured shoulder. So the fact that Jaren put up these numbers, very, very impressive. Why is this being forgotten about? I don't know. Conclusion: top 5. CJ, Bryce, Will tied for 3rd with Jaren, Anthony Richardson. Do not sleep on Jaren Hall. His stock has fallen, but for reasons that it should not have fallen. He's still that guy that was projected to be a top 10 pick earlier this year. I'm curious your top 5. Leave it in the comments. This is a fun video to make. Thank you so much for watching. I'm so grateful. And go Cougs.